Hello and welcome to the Special Lines podcast here each and every week of the NFL season where we go through our Circa contest handicapping picks here. Matt Brown, Brett Collson, and we are coming off a 3-2 week, Brett. We were drawing completely dead because you put that ridiculous, egregious Dolphins plus 18 play on our card, but we did win Jaguars plus 8. We did win Falcons plus 1, and we did win Cardinals plus 13. The other one that we lost was the Steelers minus 4, and we never really had a chance there. Ben Roethlisberger, it was pulled early. James Conner left in that game as well, and that game just was never going to get there for us. And sometimes that's just going to happen. Injuries are going to occur. You and I have been doing this long enough, and especially, if you play any fantasy sports or anything like that, you just kind of chalk that up and say, it's going to happen sometimes.
You know what's funny about that Dolphins game is the Patriots played like garbage, and they still covered by like 23.
Destroyed them.
They didn't play well.
Yeah.
That's how bad the Dolphins are. And I have made note of it. I was being stubborn last week. I have adjusted for this week. And I did the same thing with the Giants and the Bills. I definitely whiffed on that one last week. So a big week of adjustments for me, particularly with Miami and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, we were on opposite sides once in week 1. I won that one, Rams over the Panthers. We were on opposite sides twice in week 2. We split that 1-1. Your Packers -3 would have gotten there. Of course, my Bills -1 would have gotten there. So when we're on opposite sides, I am currently leading 2-1 here, and we do have a game where we are on opposite sides this week. So we'll continue to kind of keep track of that as well to see how this all plays out, and maybe we'll know for next year if we're on opposite sides, maybe we should just take the one or the other guy's picks or something like that. But let's get into this, and we do have 2 that are going to automatically make the card this week, so we're pretty excited about that. We'll run through the spreads now. If you're unfamiliar with the Circa contest, guys, we are given a line, and it is a fixed line, and that is the line that we have to play. So what you might see, by the time you listen to this podcast or even what happens on Sunday morning does not play into this contest one bit. It is the line that they provided us, and that is what we have to play. So Packers and Broncos, they gave us a line of 7.5 in favor of the Packers. Eagles Lions is 6 for the Eagles. Chiefs and Ravens, 6.5 for the Chiefs. Bills and Bengals, Bills 6 in that one. Colts and Falcons, Colts 1.5. Vikings and Raiders, Vikings 9 at home in that game. Patriots and Jets, Patriots -22. Cowboys, Dolphins, Cowboys -21.5. Bucks are 6.5 point home favorites over the on the road. Home favorites over the Giants. Cardinals and Panthers, that game, they had a pretty good idea right before we were about to tape this. It was made official that Cam Newton is out for this week. Everyone kind of knew that anyway. He had not practiced all week, and they sounded like he was going to miss this game. It is official now, and that line flipped. It is Cardinals 2-point favorites in that one now. It really just kind of did a little 4-point swing there. Seahawks, 4-point home favorites over the Saints. Chargers -3.5 over the Texans, 49ers -6.5 over the Steelers, Rams -3 over the Browns, and Bears -4 over the Redskins here. So, Brett, before we kind of get into the picks here, the couple of games, and we kind of alluded to this on the normal, on our weekly Lines podcast here, we kind of just scratched off these 3 touchdown games right off the bat. I mean, it's just really too hard to handicap these things right now. And so I don't think either one of us even considered either one of these games.
No, it's unfamiliar territory for me. I don't know how to approach these games really, because I don't know. I don't know really how bad the Jets are. They could be just as bad as Miami. I mean, we don't know. I mean, and we love both the Patriots and the Cowboys. So, I mean, like, how many points is correct? It could be 28. I really don't know. So
right. The Dolphins have made the move, and there's even more uncertainty, right? So now the Dolphins have made the move. They trade Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they make the move off of Ryan Fitzpatrick, the other Fitzpatrick, on to Josh Rosen. So throwing even more uncertainty onto that game. And so I just, look, at the end of the day, I think there are games where it's a little bit more predictable, at least in our eyes. And these are just, with these being completely wild cards here. And at the end of the day, it's really not even so much handicapping these teams, Brett. That's the problem. It's you're almost handicapping the coaching, because it's almost like, hey, how much do you want to win by? Are you going to keep your foot on the gas through 3 quarters? Are you going to play your starters all the way until, nearly the end of the 4th quarter? Or do you get up so much that it's basically we're seeing backups for the whole second half? And so that is what really, it's almost like a week 17 type scenario with these games here. And, I don't play very heavily in week 17 at all. And I kind of look at this situation very similar, where it's almost more on the coaches than it is on handicapping the teams themselves.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the players themselves aren't tanking, but there's certainly something going on even up above the coaches, where it's like, they're setting this team up to lose this year. That's happening. So, what orders are they barking down to the coaches, where, if they're down 20 early, what are they doing then? We don't know that yet. So just way too much uncertainty for me to have any conviction on either of these games.
So let's talk about the 2 games that are automatically making the card for us this week. First one is going to be that Panthers +2 on the road at the Cardinals. And you're going to say, wait a minute, Cam Newton's not playing. But guys, if you looked at the way Cam Newton has been playing so far this year, he has been the most inaccurate passer in all of the NFL. And on top of that, Cam Newton is not Cam Newton if he is not making plays with his legs. And what we saw is not only is he not making plays with his legs, he actually is doing no running whatsoever through the first 2 weeks of the season, and has the fewest amount of rushing yards of any quarterback in the entire league. So when we kind of look at this game here, Brett, and the way that I looked at it is, it seemed like it was more of a neutral situation moving to Kyle Allen, in my opinion. So the fact is if the original line thought 2.5 in favor of the Panthers, it doesn't really change for me at all the way that I look at this game. And so for it to flip on the other side, I just look at it as like, okay, we have a little bit of protection in this one, but it does not make me like the Cardinals anymore or hate the Panthers any less just because Kyle Allen's going to be under center.
Yeah, and that's what makes this the smash spot of the week. This is overreaction city. Like you said, who's to say that the Panthers aren't just better with Kyle Allen under center than Cam Newton? Like since Newton was benched on that Hail Mary before halftime last year, when we really started to see, okay, there's something going on with that shoulder, the Panthers are 1-8 straight up when he's the starting quarterback. He's thrown 11 touchdowns against 13 picks in those games. The guy can't throw the ball 20 plus yards, and his intermediate throws aren't accurate. And like you said, he doesn't run the football anymore either. They can't take advantage of his size in short yardage situations. This offense has been dysfunctional. And then you've got Kyle Allen, who came in last year in week 17 and lit up the Saints as a touchdown dog. Like, the Saints weren't playing for anything back then, but he still showed that he can, compete against pro football players. And the rest of this Panthers roster is just miles better than Arizona. They've had some extra rest to prepare for Kyler Murray this week. This is wrong team favored. The books had this right originally, and I think they should have left it at Carolina -2.5 when it opened.
Well, I look at it this way too, they readjusted, but it's still sitting on basically a dead number anyway, right? It's not like they went.
Right.
It's not like they went and made. Oh, okay. Now this Cardinals team's a 3-point favorite, which then at that point we'd have been like, holy mackerel, this is okay. So now they really think this is a huge adjustment here. Going from 2 to 2. Going from -2 to +2 is really not that big of an adjustment here, because 0 obviously is a dead number, and then you're really getting to 1s and 2s here, which don't happen all that often either. So it's kind of them saying just a little bit. Maybe they wanted some teaser protection on the Cardinals, where they didn't want a home team sitting at 2.5, where they could be teased up to 8.5. But and they're saying like, look, if you want to tease us on this game, you're at least going to have to take the road team. But for me, I am sitting here saying, from what I've seen with my own eyes, and I watch every single football game every week, either live or through the all 22s, and what I've seen from Cam Newton is a guy that's playing at 60% of what he can be and what he was. And I have to believe that 100% of Kyle Allen is probably better than 60% of Cam Newton. And so for me, just like you said, I I certainly don't think this team is a dog here. And I mean, listen, the stats are a little deceiving when you look at this Cardinals team. Much of their production has just been coming super late in games when they're already down, and they're getting a lot of garbage time yards. They're getting a lot of scores towards the end of the game here. And I think this is another one of those teams, Brett, if you've actually watched the Cardinals games and you've actually gone beyond the box score, you see that it's sometimes a little deceiving from the final numbers that you're looking at. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, they covered last week. Could have gone either way, really. If Baltimore punches it in there at the end.
And honestly, Kingsbury's coaching has not impressed me in the least bit so far. I mean, we're talking a team that it goes down and kicks 3 field goals from inside the 8-yard line. One was from the 2, one was from the 4, and then another one from the 7. Like, what kind of message are you sending to your team here if you're kicking field goals inside the 5 twice and inside the 7 once? I mean, to me, that type of coaching, it's hard for me to back, man.
Yeah, this is a great spot for the Panthers. My question is, how many people in Circa contest are going to identify this as a really good spot for Carolina?
I don't know.
Like a lot of public money coming in here on Arizona, but you're going to get some of the sharper people in Vegas in this contest. Are they going to see this as a really good spot for Carolina?
I was looking down the card, and I think there's probably some games that the Joe public is going to feel much more comfortable betting. And so I don't know how popular this game is going to be. I would say there'll be a decent amount of action probably on both sides of this one, because I think there will be some overreaction to, oh my God, it's a backup quarterback. And what we're looking at here is the Cardinals are starting a rookie. This is only his 3rd start in the league. It's not like there's that much experience difference between the 2 quarterbacks either, I mean, like, you're saying, oh wow, the Cardinals, okay, well, but yeah, this guy's making his 3rd start in the NFL. It's not like he's got this vast amount of experience over what the Panthers are going to put out there.
Yeah, and this might be the toughest defense he's seen yet. I mean, Baltimore last week, but I mean, there are holes in that Baltimore defense. I still like this Carolina defense. I think they're going to go right after him this week. And like I said, they've had more time to prepare for Kyler this week. And I think they're going to give him a hard time.
Also making the card this week is a game where we are backing again another backup quarterback here. We are going to take the Steelers plus 6.5 in this game here on the road at the 49ers. To me, this is pretty simple here, Brett. It's just the fact that I think the 49ers are the most fraudulent 2-0 team in the NFL right now. And when you look at the Steelers here, they thought enough of Mason Rudolph to take him in the draft where they did. We do have a guy here that isn't completely without playing time. And on top of that, he played the majority of the preseason trying to win the backup job and was able to secure that. And they thought enough of him for him to secure that job and win that job, and got a decent amount of playing time there in that preseason. Now, I'm not saying this 49ers defense here is a fraud. What I am saying is it's really tough to tell. It was a very turnover prone game from Jameis Winston down there in the game number 1 of the year. And then maybe I misread what this Bengals team was going to do. They looked really dynamic and everything over there in Seattle, and then come home and just absolutely lay an egg here. So maybe I kind of overvalued what this Cincinnati team brings to the table as well. Getting 6.5, I would have loved if this was 7. I think 7 is like a slam dunk here for us, but even at 6.5, I feel pretty comfortable in the playmakers here. It does look like James Conner is going to play as well, so you do have your starting running back in there to go on this Steelers team. To me, it just seems like a few too many points for me.
Oh yeah, come on, this line is nuts. Like, aren't the Steelers better? Like, yeah, they're 0-2, but they lost to 2 good teams, and the Niners are 2-0, having beaten 2 bad teams. And now they're getting 6.5. I capped this at 2, so that's a lot of free points. Like, I'm not quick to jump ship from the Steelers after these 2 games, even with a new quarterback. But I mean, eventually, this was the plan all along, right? Mason Rudolph is the heir. It's happening sooner than expected, but I think it's safe to say this kid has been ready to take the reins, and I really like what I've seen from him, both in the preseason and last week in relief of Big Ben. So this is a slam dunk for me.
Yeah, loved this play. Think that this is a real strong one for the contest as well, because I think that there are going to be a lot of people who are scared to back a backup quarterback. And, look, we're starting this game basically with a touchdown in our favor here. So I'm feeling pretty good about that one. So let's move to the game that we are on the opposite side here, which is going to then nullify this game and is not going to make the card. Brett, you took the Browns +3. I took the Rams -3. Go ahead and give me your case here for Browns at home +3.
So normally this would have fallen just outside my top 5, but this is such a great game theory play for the contest. More than 4/5 of the tickets coming in on the Rams, and they're probably going to be the most popular, if maybe the second most popular play in the Circa contest. So I would love the leverage we could get with the Browns here. I see this as a get-right spot for Baker in prime time. I don't really know how this Rams offensive line is going to protect Goff either. Near the bottom of the league so far in both pass and run blocking. And the Browns, as we know, they have guys up front who can just shred offensive lines. Garrett, Richardson, Olivier Vernon. Definitely one of the games I circle every year where the public is piling a road favorite against a team that has underperformed so far. I mean, the Browns have certainly not lived up to expectations to this point, but I see this as a good spot for them to get back and get a win that nobody is expecting.
I really wish we could play totals in this contest, because this was one of my bigger plays coming into this week is the under in this game. What we're definitely going to see here is pressure on both of these quarterbacks. And what we've seen so far is pressure on both of these quarterbacks equals happy feet and mistakes and inaccuracies. And the Rams are going to get all up in. I mean, this Browns offensive line has not been protecting Baker Mayfield at all. Now, the narrative coming out of the Browns camp here is they're saying, okay, we're working on getting the ball out of Baker's hands quicker. Well, we hear this all the time, right? I mean, we hear coaches say what they know they need to do, but being able to implement that in 3 days is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. So I think that maybe over the course of the season, that's going to be the goal. Are they going to be able to implement all of that in time for the Rams here in week 3? I don't think so. So I think you're definitely going to see this Rams defense all up in Baker Mayfield's face, and I think he's going to struggle with that. And on the flip side, we've seen, I mean, listen, this Browns defense, the one thing they have been really good at so far this year is creating pressure. This Rams offensive line is certainly not impenetrable, and we've seen Jared Goff. I mean, the splits are ridiculous with him. Clean pocket, guy's one of the best passers in the league. You get a little bit of pressure on Jared Goff, and that number just absolutely plummets. And so I love the under here, but also with that, I mean, I think that we're just, if we're comparing, position by position by position here, the Rams are pretty much superior in every single facet of the game, sans the number 1 wide receiver position, which of course Odell Beckham is almost second to none in the league. So I'm going to take this Rams defense. I'm going to take this Rams experience here. And in a game that I don't expect very many points, but I do think the Rams win by, a touchdown or more in this game here. But again, we're on opposite sides here, so this one's going to fall by the wayside, and we will certainly watch this one and keep you updated of how it all plays out here. So very, very interesting that we see this one playing out. I honestly just don't think the Browns are very good. I think that this is, I think we can kind of get past I think we can get past the underperformance thing. And what I've seen is I think this is a team that just hasn't figured out a way to kind of get it done yet. And they might towards the middle of the season. And certainly I could see this team going on a crazy run to close out the season once they've all been on the field together a little while and figured out all the holes and plug some of the leaks or whatever. But I think as we sit here in week 3, that this Browns team is definitely inferior to the Rams.
Oh, I agree. And I was never high on the Browns coming into the year either. I mean, this is a team that I loved the Ravens and the Steelers in that division. I thought the Browns were way overvalued, but I see this. Well, I mean, first of all, I see this as a great spot in the contest. I mean, we're competing against 1,800 other people or whatever. So, I mean, this is a really good leverage spot. If we both decided we liked the Browns, I love it. But yeah, I mean, look, this isn't one of my favorite plays of the week, so I'm fine leaving it off.
All right, so let's talk about our other 2 plays here, and these don't match up, and curious to see how we go about getting which ones make the card here. Let's start off with you, and you have the Broncos +7.5 on the road at Lambeau against the Packers here.
Yeah, my favorite play in this game is the under. This looks like a slugfest in windy conditions. So, I mean, if this thing lands in the mid 30s, high 30s, you have to side with Denver getting a great number, 7.5. I think the market did catch up with Green Bay finally. And even though this offensive line terrifies me against this Packers front, I still cap this at 6.5. And then on the other side of the ball, you have to believe that Chubb and Von Miller will start getting pressure on the quarterback. Just a woeful start to the year for these guys, but I'm not ready to just give up on those two tremendous talents yet. I mean, I think Denver's pass rush will start to put it together. I mean, they're working with a new coach, Fangio, new system. So I'm believing that the Broncos will get better on defense every single week, and I think this is going to be a really low-scoring game, so I'll take the 7.5.
One of the other ones that made my card here, and this is one of the ones where this was actually, you know what we didn't do is talk about our must makes. Were the either of the first two your must make?
Carolina was my must make.
Okay, yeah, and so this is actually my must make here, and maybe this is just the maybe this is the pessimist in me. Maybe this is maybe this is actually how I feel. I don't know, but I really do feel like the Saints are going to struggle on the road at the Seahawks with Teddy Bridgewater under center here. I mean, the number seems really short to me at 4. We're starting to see 4.5s pop up in different places as well. So it seems like some of the people are coming around to the Seahawks at home against this Saints team here. I've looked at Teddy Bridgewater, and one of the things that I've seen over and over again with him, and I actually went back and found some of his tape when he was with the Vikings before he got hurt. And this just seems like a guy that was pretty much at a league average level. And it was back when the quarterback position was, so I guess maybe it's not even that much different as we sit right now, Brett, actually. And maybe there's in 2019, we'll talk about, man, do you remember how bad the quarterback play was in 2019? But, his last full season back in like 2016 was it was just, I think we thought more highly of him because everybody else in the league was so average as well. I mean, there was like the 3 or 4 elite, super elite guys, and then it was just a bunch of everybody else's. And I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater to me seems like a game manager, certainly not a guy to go get you a win. And I feel like when you go on the road at Seattle in that environment, 12th man, the whole 9 yards, you're going to have to go and actually win a game. They're not going to give it to you. And I don't think Teddy Bridgewater possesses that. And the other thing that we've seen early here in the season with this Saints team is a very, very leaky pass defense. And the Seahawks have actually amended the way that they call games here. I didn't think Pete Carroll had it in him, but he is actually throwing on earlier downs. He's actually throwing the ball downfield. DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson seem to really have a thing. Early on in this career, that has to be very exciting for a Seahawks fan because, of course, it's only going to get better. And 4 points to me against this Saints team with so much working against them just seemed like not quite enough here, and I liked the Seahawks at home against the Saints.
Yeah, with you. My only concern was that this would be one of the two most popular in the contest, but really, who cares? Like, this is definitely the right side. The market did not adjust enough for the loss of Drew Brees. Teddy and Taysom going into that place, they're going to get eaten alive. I really like Seattle.
I actually think
too.
this one could get. I'm actually looking. I'm going to hold out until the alternates come out on Sunday morning, and I'm going to bet the alt line on this. Like, I'm going to take better than minus 110. I'm going to go ahead and buy off this number to I'll take the Seahawks. I think as high as 6.5. I think as long as I keep it under a touchdown is something I'm feeling pretty confident in. I actually think that there's a chance that this one could get out of control.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw last week from Teddy is it's the same offense, but with a far inferior player. Like, they don't throw the ball downfield. They can't get it to Mike Thomas down the field or Ted Ginn downfield to make plays. It's the same thing. And that's not going to work, especially in Seattle against this defense. I'm with you. This could get ugly.
All right, so we have 3 on the card here. We'll talk about your other play. We'll talk about my other play, and then we'll go ahead and decide the last 2 games that are going to make the card here. Colts minus 1.5. You like these guys. Colts been surprising a bunch of people. They are at home against the Falcons.
Yeah, I think the market's still behind on Indy. I've been firing them every single week. Not going to stop until it is corrected. I see huge mismatches here on both sides of the line of scrimmage. The Falcons have some major injuries up front. This Colts team is just sneaky good, and whether it's Marlon Mack or Jordan Wilkins in the backfield, someone is going to eat on the ground for Indy this week behind that elite offensive line. I feel like this line should be a field goal at least. I capped it at 3.5. I think Indianapolis is better, so I feel like I'm getting 2 free points.
Yeah, I actually am okay with this one making the card, so we can go ahead and throw this one here while it didn't make for me. Listen, it's just a situation where I look at this and yeah, the Falcons won last week and good for us, but that was a lucky win. I mean, in theory, they should have lost that game. I mean, Nelson Aguilar had a moonwalk in touchdown for them to win that game, and Nelson Aguilar did what Nelson Aguilar does, and that's drop the football. But I mean, they were incredibly lucky to come out of that game with a win, and I think that they, going on the road here, listen, I don't buy into trends, but one of the things that we can look at, and we have a big enough sample size as well here, is just Matt Ryan's home road splits, right? I mean, it is absolutely crazy. He is just exponentially better at home than he is on the road. I mean, it's nuts. And this Colts defense, they invested in it. They went ahead and decided they were going to spend some money, bring in some players that were playmakers. We've seen that so far this year. Colts team has been playing pretty well. And like we talked about whenever it happened, I mean, Jacoby Brissett, yeah, I mean, is it an ideal situation with no Andrew Luck? No, but you are getting one of the more experienced backups in all of the NFL and a guy that there was enough talent present where the guy was on the Patriots and then a team decided to trade for him to bring him in because he showed enough for at least when they were trying to replace a quarterback, So for me, I'm with you on this. This is perfectly fine, especially with that small number here. I mean, we're only looking, I guess the only downfall here is maybe we'll need a field goal to cover this, Brett. And that is, oh man, maybe we'll need a field goal to cover this. And holy crap, that has been horrible.
I don't like factor kickers into point spreads, but my God, dude, make a kick. This guy is unbelievable. How is he still on the roster?
I know. It is insanity to me. I mean, you don't want to force a legend to retire. I guess you get it. But I mean, if the Giants can bench Eli Manning, then you can bench a kicker. Like you can just say like, hey man, you obviously ain't got it no more. I mean, like this has been unbelievable here. I mean, they even had kickers. They had 6 kickers work out this week just so they have one ready in case he struggles again this week and they have to cut him. I mean, like they literally have in mind who they are going to replace him with should they have to replace him after this week. That's not really a vote of confidence for sure.
It's crazy. Such a sharp organization. I mean, this team is built to win now. Why are you keeping this guy around? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Pretty crazy here. My other one that I had on my list here was the Bucks 6.5 here at home against this Giants team. Now I understand it is probably an upgrade to go to the rookie here for the Giants. But I mean, listen, Danny Dimes is still making his first start of his career on the road at the Bucks, a very improved Bucks defense. Now, one of the things they need to catch up on down there in Tampa is what's going on with this offense, because with all those playmakers and everything that's going on, even with all of Jameis's shortcomings, they should still be putting up points and moving the ball. But this Bucks defense has been really good, and I actually think that they're going to create a lot of havoc for, this young rookie making his first start here. Just having to cover a touchdown here, I feel pretty damn confident in that Bucks team. How far off of the card was this for you?
This was in the middle for me, but I like it. Let's do it. I feel like this is a Jameis get-right game against a defense that has not been able to stop 2 average at best quarterbacks so far. So,
right. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at this. Like the one thing Jameis has going for him is hucking it up downfield, and he's got 2 wide receivers that can go up and get it, right? Well, What have we seen through 2 weeks with the Giants? They have just given up so many downfield scores. That is like the Achilles. I mean, it's a bad defense anyway, but like one of the things we've seen that has rung true 2 weeks in a row is just they give up the deep ball like nobody's business. And if there's one thing I can at least count on Jameis is he can huck it 40 yards down the field, and Mike Evans and or Godwin can go up and get the damn thing.
And he has these games where he looks like the Jameis that everybody expected, right? I mean, he like 1 out of every 5-6 games he just goes off. And what better defense than this one to just shred. I have a really good feeling about him this week. So, yeah, I'm fine. I like the number here too. So
perfect. All right, let's definitely get that on there. So our 5 this week: Panthers +2 against the Cardinals, Steelers +6.5 against the Niners, Seahawks -4 against the Saints, Colts 1.5 against the Falcons, and Bucks 6.5 versus the Giants. Quick news and notes just on the rest of the card here. The big stay away games for me outside of the 3 touchdown games. For me, Brett, Eagles -6 seems like a juicy spot coming, at home with the Lions going on the road here. But with that situation with the wide receivers for the Eagles, and I understand you can lose one guy, and I don't think that I'm going to knock at all that. But I mean, you lose your top 2 guys, and now your number 1 is Nelson Aguilar, and you're going to Mac Hollins and JJ Arcega-Whiteside and all that. And I understand you still have Zach Ertz, but for me, that Eagles game against the Lions, I hope that a lot of people play that game, because I think there's a chance that maybe the Eagles could fall flat here strictly because they're not going to have anybody to move the ball.
It could happen. I like the Eagles there. I feel like the Lions coming off the win that very few people expected, maybe some recency bias on that side that kind of moved the line here. I think the look ahead was 7.5, which I don't know. I capped this at 7, so I like the Eagles side, but I really don't have any strong conviction either way.
I already crapped all over my team, and actually making the card is us picking against the Saints. What do you feel about the Bills at home here against the Bengals? This one was actually number 7 on the list for me, so very, very close to making the 5-pick card for me.
I had this way at the bottom. I had the Bills. I think this team actually might be for real, and that place is going to be absolutely insane on Sunday. And the Bengals are just bad. So I didn't love this one. I just took the Bills just for the home opener factor, and they might be good.
Yeah, I actually think they are good, to be honest with you. I actually think they are good. So, that one barely just didn't make the card for me. Vikings and Raiders, that 9 number is pretty interesting because it has been on the move. I mean, this was a 7.5 opener, quickly went to 8, quickly went to 8.5, now all the way to 9. I've seen 9.5s out there. This thing might get to 10 by the time this goes off. I think people have come off of that week 1 Raiders high and said, wait a minute, this team is every bit as bad as we thought they were.
Yeah, I agree. And I have the Vikings here too. Just, naturally, I almost always take the Vikings at home and fade them on the road, which is what I did last week with them. And even though this line has just been climbing and we're not getting the best number, I don't know. Where do you think this closes? It's close to 10?
I think this gets to double digits. Yeah, I mean, I fired on this the second they released lines, and I was able to get – I only got a couple of teasers in at 7.5 to get them down to 1.5, and then it moved to 8 real quick, and then I got a couple more in on them at 8 to move it down to 2. So I just need the Vikings field goal for a good week for me. But this Raiders team is what we thought they were. I think they're really bad, and so I think everybody's starting to catch up on that. They're like, oh wow, maybe Raiders aren't as bad as we thought after week 1, and then it's like, no, they are. It was just the right circumstance, right situation. They could rally around that whole Antonio Brown situation, and things. But yeah, that's just not. I think the weirdest line of the week for me is the Chargers Texans at 3.5. That one was the perplexing one to me. That one was towards the very, very bottom of my card.
Same.
It's just so weird, right? 3.5. Yeah. It's just like you throw that hook on there, and you're just.
Westgate gave us 3. I actually liked the Chargers there, and with 3.5, I kind of lean towards the Texans. That's how close it is. I don't care about this game. I think both these teams are just. I don't think either one of these teams is good.
Yeah.
So.
And the final game, Monday Night Football, was the actual very bottom game for me on my card, and that's strictly because I know the Redskins are terrible. I actually think the Bears are kind of bad too.
Yeah.
And when I get in that situation and it's like, okay, now it's a bad Redskins team, but they are at least at home catching points. The Bears are at least superior to them in most positions. However, I think they're kind of bad as well. And now I've got to ask them to cover more than a field goal. This game was other than the 3 touchdown games, this was the first one that I just scratched off the list. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. Nothing happening for me in this one.
I had the Redskins in the middle of my card. I see this as an opportunity to keep fading Trubisky until people truly recognize how bad he is. all the people who bet on this guy to win the MVP before the season are finally, I think, starting to come around, but the market hasn't quite caught up yet. So maybe some value here on the Redskins. And I don't think anybody's going to like bet the Redskins either. So,
and the game of the week here, I saved it for last. Chiefs and Ravens. Ravens head on the road to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs nearly a touchdown in the contest here. -6.5 is where it sits if you wanted to make this play in the contest. Now, I am very excited, Brett, and I'm sure you are as well, to actually watch this game. Now, this is a game that obviously the two most electrifying quarterbacks in the league right now through 2 weeks for sure. This number has been on the move the opposite direction. So what we're looking at now is 6s and 5.5s out there. So this was another reason I didn't really want to touch this one, because I kind of lean towards the Chiefs here at home, but knowing that I'm getting such a bad go of it, that this was another reason that kind of kicked me off. And with since there's 5.5s out there, I mean, it's just kind of like, nah, man, this probably isn't something I want to play.
That's exactly how I approach this. I hate the line movement because I was leaning Chiefs. I mean, I had this towards the bottom of my card, but I was leaning Chiefs at 6.5. But like you said, this is one where you just sit back and enjoy it and not have to sweat it for any kind of. I mean, you're not going to bet on this game, are you? Maybe.
No,
I like the over actually quite a bit.
Yeah, I think if there's any bet going on for me, it would be throwing some money on the over here. I think that this certainly has the makings of kind of a back and forth, certainly some sort of shootout situation, but nothing I want to bet a side on here. Maybe maybe we'll have some DFS action tied into this game, you know?
Yeah, you can bet on that.
There'll be, I can only imagine. Yeah, I was going to say, I can only imagine there'll be some DFS action that revolves around this game for sure for us. So, guys, thanks for taking a listen here. Hopefully, we can improve on the 3-2 week we had last week. A 4-1, even a 5-0 would be really, really great. Probably not going to win the quarterly prize in this first 4 weeks of the contest, but hey, look, you never know. Maybe we string together a 15-0 over these next couple here, or a 10-0 here over the next couple, Brett, and maybe we're in it. But at the very least, we are figuring these teams out a little bit better, and certainly heading into the second quarterly contest, we might can make a run at that 140K.
Yeah, that sounds good. I feel really good about this card this week. I wasn't too sure about the first 2 weeks. I'm feeling really good about this one.
For Brett, I'm Matt. See you guys next week.